My sister and her husband moved in with our parents and expected me to babysit their kids every weekend. When I refused, my parents sided with them, so I moved out and stopped paying every bill in that house. I never thought doing the right thing would cost me everything. I'm Amanda, 27, and for the past 2 years, I'd been the invisible backbone holding my parents' household together. Every single month, without fail, I covered the electric bill, the water bill, even threw in money for groceries at Whole Foods because Mom's part-time receptionist job at the dental clinic barely covered her blood pressure medication. And Dad's shifts at the Home Depot distribution center kept getting cut. I didn't complain about it. I had a solid job as a content coordinator at a boutique advertising agency in downtown Charlotte, and I figured this was just what you did. You took care of the people who raised you. It felt good, actually, knowing I was making their lives easier while they struggled to keep up with rising costs in their modest ranch house on Pinewood Drive. But everything shattered the afternoon my older sister, Victoria, and her husband, Greg, showed up in a U-Haul with their 2 kids and enough luggage to fill a small hotel. "It's just temporary," Victoria announced, breezing past Mom with little Chloe on her hip and 6-year-old Noah trailing behind with his iPad. "Just until we get back on our feet." Victoria had always been the star of our family, the vivacious, magnetic one who could charm her way out of anything. Growing up, I was practically wallpaper, the dependable, boring one who got straight A's while she collected boyfriends and drama. So when she stood in that doorway with her designer sunglasses pushed up on her head and her perfectly highlighted hair, I knew deep in my gut that this wasn't going to end well, and God, was I right, because within 72 hours, that temporary arrangement morphed into a full-scale invasion, and my life became an unpaid childcare service I never agreed to. The first week was absolute bedlam. Cardboard boxes stacked in the hallway, kids shrieking at all hours, my parents hovering over Victoria like she was made of glass. "Don't you worry about a thing, sweetheart," Mom kept saying, adjusting the throw pillows Victoria's kids had already destroyed. "We'll make this work. You've been through so much." Meanwhile, I was the one boxing up my home office, the room where I took client calls and worked on campaigns, to create a playroom for Noah and Chloe. At first, I told myself to be patient. Victoria explained that they needed breathing room after Greg got laid off from his sales position at a pharmaceutical company. "It's only until we figure out our next move," she promised, touching my arm with those perfectly manicured nails. "You understand, right?" But figuring out their next move rapidly transformed into me walking through the door every Friday evening after a brutal work week, only to find juice stains on my MacBook, Lego bricks embedded in the carpet, and Victoria thrusting a diaper bag into my hands before I could even kick off my shoes. "Amanda, could you watch the kids real quick?" she'd say, already halfway out the door in her athleisure and statement earrings. "Greg and I need to handle some errands." Those errands mysteriously lasted 4, sometimes 5 hours. When I finally worked up the courage to say something, I tried to be diplomatic about it. "Victoria, I'm really exhausted after work all week. I can't keep watching the kids every single weekend." Her face transformed like I'd just slapped her. "Wow. Seriously? You can't help out your own family for a few hours? You're single, Amanda. It's not like you have anywhere to be." That stung more than I wanted to admit. But what really twisted the knife was Mom appearing in the doorway, arms crossed. "Your sister's going through an incredibly difficult time, Amanda. The absolute least you could do is lend a hand. You don't have children of your own. You wouldn't understand the pressure she's under." That night, I lay awake in my childhood bedroom, the one Victoria had somehow claimed was too small for her family, listening to Chloe wailing through the thin walls, and I thought, when exactly did helping family turn into being exploited by family? The next morning, I found my favorite coffee mug shattered in the sink. Nobody apologized. Nobody even mentioned it. 6 weeks in, things deteriorated rapidly. My peaceful Saturday mornings vanished, replaced by Paw Patrol blasting at full volume at 6:47 a.m., Cheerios ground into the kitchen tile, Victoria screaming at Greg for not loading the dishwasher correctly. And somehow, inevitably, I was the one scrubbing sticky handprints off the refrigerator door. The bills exploded too. The electric bill jumped from $140 to $310. The water bill nearly quadrupled with all the extra laundry and Greg's 20-minute showers. Every time I gently suggested that maybe we should all contribute proportionally, Mom had the same response. "Don't stress about money, Amanda. You make good money at that agency. Your sister and Greg need time to rebuild their lives." So I paid month after month because that's what I'd always done. The responsible one. The dependable one. But my breaking point arrived on a Friday evening in late September when Victoria literally deposited both kids in front of me while I was on a Zoom call with a major client. "Could you watch them tonight?" she asked, not really asking. Greg surprised me with reservations at Aria Tuscan Grill. "It's our anniversary." I frantically muted my microphone. "Victoria, no. Absolutely not. I have a presentation due Monday morning. I can't. She let out this dramatic, wounded sigh. You're unbelievable. You've really changed, Amanda. You used to care about family. Before I could form a response, Mom materialized in the doorway, hands planted on her hips. Amanda Louise, stop being selfish. Your sister never asks for much. I actually laughed out loud, a sharp, bitter sound. She never asks? She demands. Every single day. That night, after everyone finally went to bed, I sat alone in the dark kitchen, staring at the stack of unpaid bills spread across the counter. Electric, water, internet, groceries from Harris Teeter, all in my name, all draining my checking account. My entire paycheck was subsidizing a house full of people who treated me like their personal ATM and babysitter. And for what? For the privilege of being called selfish, I decided right then that something had to change. Had to. The following Tuesday, I got a call from my coworker Brittany about an apartment opening in the new complex near our office, the modern one with the rooftop terrace and the gym I'd admired during my commute. It wasn't massive, but it was a one-bedroom with hardwood floors and huge windows. It was mine, if I wanted it. I signed the lease that afternoon. When I announced at Sunday dinner that I'd be moving out in 2 weeks, you could have heard a pin drop. You're what? Mom finally managed, her fork clattering onto her plate of pot roast. I'm moving out, I repeated calmly, though my heart was hammering. 2 weeks from Saturday. You can't just abandon us like this. Victoria gasped, genuine panic flooding her face. Who's going to help with the bills? Or watch Noah and Chloe when we need to? I cut her off, my voice steadier than I felt. That's not my responsibility. None of this ever was. Dad set down his beer, frowning deeply. You're being unreasonable, Amanda. Family sticks together through hard times. No, Dad, I said, feeling my hands tremble but refusing to back down. Family doesn't exploit one person as their safety net while calling them selfish for having boundaries. Mom's face flushed red. After everything we've done for you, after we raised you, I stood up slowly, pushing my chair back. Everything I've done for you, you mean? I've kept this house running while you all took me completely for granted. I could feel Victoria's glare burning into me from across the table, but for once, I didn't care. For once, I wasn't going to be the quiet, accommodating daughter who swallowed her needs. I'm done, I said clearly. You'll all have to figure it out yourselves. The first 4 weeks after I moved into my apartment were absolute heaven, silence, space, peace, freedom. I stopped waking up to chaos. My evenings belonged to me again. My money stayed in my account, where it belonged. I joined a yoga studio, bought plants that nobody destroyed, decorated with throw pillows that stayed clean, and started actually living my life instead of just surviving it. But my phone became a battlefield, endless missed calls. Guilt trip texts that could win Olympic medals. Mom, the electric bill came. It's $340. You need to send money. Victoria, the kids cry for you every night. How can you do this to your own nieces and nephew? Dad, you've disappointed us deeply, Amanda. This isn't how we raised you to treat family. I didn't respond to a single message. 7 weeks later, I ran into Mrs. Henderson from 3 doors down at Target. She mentioned that Victoria and Greg had moved to a small duplex across town near the airport. Mom had picked up extra shifts at the dental clinic, and Dad was working overtime on weekends. In other words, they adjusted. They figured it out. Just like they always could have, if they'd wanted to, and me. I finally started actually living. 3 months after moving out, I got promoted to senior content coordinator with a $15,000 raise. I started dating again, went on actual dates where I didn't have to rush home to babysit. I even booked a solo trip to Savannah for my birthday, something I dreamed about for years, but never had the money or freedom to do. One Sunday morning in early December, as I sat by my apartment window with a cappuccino from the coffee shop downstairs. Watching the city wake up, my phone buzzed with another message from Victoria. We're really struggling, Amanda. You could at least help a little. Mom's working herself to death. Don't you care? I smiled, blocked the number, and set my phone face down on the windowsill, because for the first time in years, maybe in my entire life, I wasn't drowning under everyone else's needs and demands and emergencies. I was finally free. Looking back now, 6 months later, I don't regret walking away. Not for 1 second. Sometimes family doesn't need more sacrifices, they need boundaries. Real, firm boundaries that you enforce even when it's uncomfortable, even when they call you selfish, even when they try to guilt you into submission, and if standing up for my peace and my sanity makes me the bad daughter or the selfish sister, then I'll wear those labels proudly, because choosing myself wasn't the end of my story, it was the beginning of finally being seen, finally being valued, finally being free. I'm Amanda. I'm 27 years old. And I finally learned that you can't pour from an empty cup, and you don't owe anyone an explanation for refilling your own. This is my story. And for the first time, it's truly mine.